Obedience is slavery. The moment you bow, the moment you kneel, the moment you say yes when you wanted to say no, you surrender power. And once you give it away, you don't get it back. Society wants you obedient. It wants you compliant, predictable, controllable. From childhood, you're trained to follow. Parents, teachers, priests, bosses, all conditioning you with the same poison. Do as you're told. And those who obey never rise. They become tools, weapons for others to use, pawns moved by unseen hands. Machiavelli knew this. He saw that the true rulers of the world are not those who obey, but those who bend obedience into control, those who rewrite the rules while everyone else blindly follows them. Power does not belong to the obedient. Power belongs to those who disobey. Look at history. The greatest conquerors, the most feared rulers, the untouchable players of power, none of them followed the script. Caesar didn't obey the Senate. He crossed the Rubicon when the law demanded he surrender. That single act of disobedience shifted the entire fate of Rome. And once he defied them, he owned them. He didn't ask permission. He didn't bend to tradition. He acted and the world bent to him. Alexander the Great didn't obey the boundaries drawn by others. He was told Greece was enough. He was told Persia was untouchable. He didn't listen. He carved through empires as if the world was his to consume. Why? Because he understood what you don't. The chains of obedience only exist if you accept them. The weak follow rules, the strong write them. And yet, most people live like trained dogs. They wait for orders. They ask for permission. They measure their every step against invisible masters. Their boss, their peers, the crowd's opinion. They are terrified of disobedience because obedience feels safe. It feels easy. But safe men don't rule. Safe men don't win. Safe men are forgotten. Machiavelli warned that a prince cannot afford blind loyalty, not to tradition, not to morality, not to anyone. A ruler's first duty is to survive, and survival demands flexibility. That means bending rules, breaking them, discarding them when they no longer serve you. The one who obeys is chained. The one who disobeys commands. Think about the world you live in right now. Every system is designed to trap you. Schools train you to think inside the box. Jobs train you to obey without question. Social media trains you to seek validation like a beggar seeking crumbs. And every time you comply, every time you post for approval, every time you nod and follow, you kill the part of you that could have ruled. You cannot control everything if you obey anything. Obedience is dependency. It ties your fate to the whims of another. If you need permission, you have already lost. If you need validation, you are already weak. If you need rules, you will always be ruled. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. That's why The Prince is not a book about morality. It is a book about survival. It teaches you not how to be loved, but how to be feared. Not how to obey, but how to manipulate obedience itself. If you want power, you must stop being the obedient one and start being the one people obey. But here is the secret. Obedience is not destroyed by rebellion alone. It is destroyed by mastery of perception. The master does not shout, "I will not obey." He makes others obey without them realizing it. He pulls strings while they thank him for it. He commands without raising his voice. He controls the obedient, by making them believe they are free. That's the essence of power, not obeying, but making obedience invisible. Look at Cardinal Richelieu, the man who ruled France without a crown. He never sat on the throne, never wore the title of king. Yet he controlled kings. How? By weaving obedience into loyalty, by bending others to his will while they thought they were choosing for themselves. The true ruler does not need titles. He does not need the spotlight. He only needs control. And control begins with one decision: never obey. Not blindly, not fully, not ever. Because once you obey, you are owned. Your actions become predictable. Your patterns can be controlled. And once someone can predict you, they can dominate you. Machiavelli warned against this. He knew that the man who bows is already defeated. That is why every great strategist in history, Sun Tzu, Napoleon, Lenin, taught the same lesson in different words. The one who obeys dies in chains. The one who disobeys rules in silence. The crowd will tell you that obedience makes you good, that it makes you respectable, likable, virtuous. But power doesn't reward virtue. Power doesn't care if you are good. Power rewards results, and results never come from obedience. Consider Napoleon. The world told him France was broken after the revolution. The powers of Europe told him to stay contained. Did he obey? No. He crowned himself emperor in front of the Pope, tearing obedience to shreds in front of the world. And by refusing to kneel, he forced nations to kneel before him. The weak obey because they fear consequence. The strong disobey because they create consequence. This is the first truth you must accept. Obedience and power cannot exist in the same body. One will strangle the other. If you want to control everything, you must start by obeying nothing. Not rules, not traditions, not expectations, and most importantly, not your own fear. Because fear is the greatest chain of all. It makes you obey before anyone even gives the order. It makes you submit before the whip is even raised. Machiavelli saw this in every court, every kingdom, every ruler. The powerful man is not the one who speaks loudest, not the one who smiles brightest, not the one who obeys best. The powerful man is the one who bends others without ever bending himself. So, look at your own life. Ask yourself, where are you obeying? Where are you surrendering? Where have you confused obedience with safety? Because every single chain you allow is another hand around your throat. The first step to control is disobedience. Refuse the leash. Refuse the script. Refuse to play the role designed for you. Because only when you stop obeying will you start commanding. That's how you rise. That's how you win. That's how you become untouchable. Disobedience is the first step, but it is not enough. Anyone can rebel. Anyone can say no. But rebellion without strategy is suicide. If you stop obeying, you free yourself. But if you want power, you must go further. You must learn to control. Machiavelli understood that control is not about brute force. It is about perception. Men do not obey the strongest man. They obey the man they believe is strongest. They obey the one who infects their minds with fear, hope, or illusion. Force can win a battle, but perception wins an empire. Look at Genghis Khan. He didn't conquer half the world by fighting every army. He conquered by controlling belief. Villages surrendered before his horsemen arrived because they believed resistance was death. Rumors of slaughter, whispers of invincibility, that was his true weapon. That is how obedience is created, in the mind. Napoleon understood the same. He wasn't just a general, he was a myth. His soldiers marched into hopeless battles not because they were forced, but because they believed he could not lose. That belief was control. Appear powerful, appear inevitable, appear ruthless, and obedience follows. This is where most people fail. They think control means demanding respect, shouting orders, forcing obedience. But the loudest man is the weakest. True control is invisible. It seeps into the mind until obedience feels natural, even voluntary. The best chains are the ones people never see. That is why history's most dangerous figures often ruled from shadows. Richelieu, the cardinal who controlled France without ever wearing the crown. Stalin, who said little, revealed less, but moved silently until rivals were destroyed. These men understood the law: never expose yourself fully. Power that can be seen can be attacked. Invisible power cannot be stopped. This is the ghost strategy: to be everywhere and nowhere, to move everything without being seen, to control the board without ever stepping onto it. Kings are envied, generals are targeted, the ghost remains untouchable. So how do you apply this? First, never reveal your full intent. Every plan you explain is a weapon handed to your enemies. Speak less, reveal nothing. Let them guess wrong. Second, rule through others. Use masks, figureheads, proxies. Let others take the crown while you pull the strings. The face of power is always a target. The hidden hand endures. Third, guide perception instead of demanding obedience. People resist commands, but they follow stories. They resist orders, but they obey illusions. If you shape their belief, their obedience will feel like their own choice. And when obedience feels like choice, it is unbreakable. Lenin mastered this. He didn't rise by shouting, "Obey me." He rose by shaping desperation, by feeding illusions of justice and freedom. The masses believed they were seizing power for themselves, but in reality, he was already in control. Fourth, exploit uncertainty. Silence creates doubt. Mystery creates fear. When people cannot predict you, they hesitate. They second guess. And hesitation is your weapon. Napoleon struck from terrain thought impossible. His enemies wasted time trying to read him. By the time they understood, it was too late. Unreadable men dominate predictable men. The same is true in life, in business, in relationships. Predictable men are crushed. Unpredictable men are feared. And fear breeds obedience. Look at the modern world. Presidents change, CEOs are replaced, leaders fall, but the unseen controllers remain. Corporations, financiers, nameless investors, the hands you never see. The crowd obeys, the rulers fall, but the ghost endures. That is the Machiavellian truth. And here is your brutal lesson. If people know you are in control, you are already weak. The spotlight makes you a target. The invisible hand cannot be attacked. That is the highest level of control. Obedience without awareness, loyalty without resistance, chains without force. But most people do the opposite. They expose themselves. They post their thoughts online. They announce their plans. They share their fears. And in doing so, they give away their leverage. They hand the map of their mind to others. Then they wonder why they are predictable, why they are blocked, why they never rise. You cannot control everything if you keep obeying the system designed to trap you. You cannot rule if you keep living by rules written to chain you. Stop obeying, start controlling, refuse the leash, but don't just break free, become the one holding it. That is how empires are built. That is how men carve their names into eternity. Caesar disobeyed the Senate. Napoleon disobeyed tradition. Stalin disobeyed the party. Lenin disobeyed exile. And because they refused obedience, they gained control. The world does not remember the obedient. It remembers the controllers. So ask yourself, will you waste your life obeying? Or will you learn to bend obedience to your will? Will you remain predictable? Or will you cultivate mystery? Will you seek approval? Or will you cultivate fear? The truth is simple. Weak men obey. Strong men control. And the strongest of all the ones remembered forever control without being seen. That is Machiavelli's law. That is the devil's law. Obey nothing. Control everything. Like the video. subscribe to Devil Psyche. And remember, those who obey are forgotten, those who control are feared.